Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Airvuz After Hours. I'm Jacob Blazer.
And I'm Tyler Mason, and we are joined today by a traveler drone pilot, Wes Anderson, who, as you can see, is joining us from Hawaii right now. Wes, are you living out there right now, just traveling, or what brings you to Hawaii?
Yeah, so I really wanted to come to Hawaii because one, as an American, I can't go anywhere else. So I have to stay in the US. And what better place to go than Hawaii?
Yeah,
Speaking
sweet.
of,
So I mean, I was
speaking
I
of,
was in Japan the last oh, yeah, there you go.
no. Go ahead. No, yeah, I was just going to ask about all your travels, um, and then what led you to coming back to the States when you did?
Yeah, so I was in Japan the last 4 months. And I was traveling like all around Japan. I stayed in Osaka for a couple months. I was in Tokyo for a month. And I traveled all around. I even did skiing in April. There was like a foot of snow that dumped. It was super nice, best skiing I've ever done in my life. And now I'm so happy because I'm in Hawaii and I can go back to Japan for like really cheap to go skiing in the winter, which would be sweet. But I was in Japan because I wanted to dodge the virus. So before that, I was in Borneo. I was rehabilitating orangutans. I was trying to go to Tomorrowland, which is a huge music festival with tons of opportunities to fly my drone in the French Alps. So I was literally hopping from one side of the world to the other, going back and forth. And during when coronavirus was happening, like in March, it was a very big thing in the U.S. then, which it still is now. But it took a little bit longer to kind of get to the U.S. And in Europe, they were already freaking out end of like February into March, and the festival as that got canceled. So I was like, what better place to go than Japan? I had a few choices like Hong Kong, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, but I had already been to Singapore and the others were really small. So I was like, Japan's the perfect time to go. One, there's not going to be a whole lot of people around traveling. So it makes it even safer for traveling for me with the coronavirus around. And it's also a country that did really well at suppressing it throughout the whole country. So I was able to travel for like a whole month, all of March into April, like very freely and very easily until they declared a state of emergency April 19th. So I was able to travel around, fly my drone a ton in Japan. You'll be seeing a video about that. I haven't even gone through the stuff yet, but I was really excited to go through there. And I just wanted to come back to the US because I was actually tired of all the rain. Especially in rain, you can't really fly your drone at all, or you can't
Right.
film. And so, I mean, you can, but it's a little difficult. So that's why I chose coming back to the US and chilling in Hawaii because I wanted a little bit of a summer break and to get tons of good footage here as well.
Nice. No, obviously you talked about all the travels you've done. You've lived in Europe, but it sounds like you managed to be able to travel a little bit. But how has travel been just in general in the age of the pandemic? Is it when you do travel, is it weird now? Especially maybe coming back to the U.S.
It was super weird, like I was saying in March, because I'd gone from Borneo after rehabilitating orangutans back to the US. And then I was there for like a day, switching out because I have a storage unit in New York and I just switch out all my stuff that I need. I have tons of protein bars waiting for me, all that kind of stuff. Switched out my skis, went to Europe, and it was a lot of questions are being arised. It's like, is it safe to travel right now? Can I travel? And it was definitely very difficult. Like when I went to Europe, and it was like 2 days later they declared like state of emergency. Like when I went to Barcelona, and I was there for the whole week of when it was lockdown. And I'm like, okay, I need to figure out this really quick because the U.S. is going to shut down their airports soon. Like they shut down JFK the day that I flew into New York. So luckily I got there that the day they shut it down, and then I got into Japan 2 days before they shut that down back in March. So I luckily skated by and through Japan right before they closed their borders. But right now, when I flew back from Japan, I couldn't go from Japan to Hawaii because it canceled all flights till end of August, and I didn't want to stay there in the rain and all the heat that they have there for too much longer. I'd spent 4 months there, which is a good amount of time. I'll go back in ski season, but going from there, I had to go all the way to New York to my storage unit, and then from New York to or from Boston to Hawaii. So I had to go all the way over just to go all the way back pretty much. And it was actually pretty simple for traveling. It feels like it's honestly back to normal now, like compared from when I was traveling March to now. There was quite a few people on the flight that I was on, not the international flight, but the flight from LAX just to Boston. I mean, to New York was pretty simple and it felt normal. Everybody was just wearing masks. So everybody's kind of adapted to it.
So I've been giving you crap over the last few months about just chilling in Japanese hotels in your robe and all that stuff and doing these styling shots. What's it like
Yeah,
living in those little huts behind you compared to the high rises of Japan?
I actually love this. I like this a lot. In Japan, I actually had my own apartment for a few different times. I was paying like 400 a month to stay in these nice apartments. But then I was also doing hotel collaborations. So there's like a time and a place for things. So I was doing a lot of photo shoots for hotels in exchange for like staying there. So it's really nice to be able to stay at like a 5-star luxury hotel and resort and to be able to network with people and to be able to get extra gigs. Like I was in the last 2 days I left, I did an event gig at like a club with a photo shoot, a restaurant shoot, and I did a hotel collaboration like right before I left, like 2 days before I left. And that was amazing. And then coming to Hawaii to be able to live in these yurts and these tents, it's actually quite nice, but it's a whole lot more expensive than you'd think.
Huh.
But it's still really beautiful. I only go on the yurt at night to sleep. But throughout the day, I'm either walking around or doing something else. I've been a little entrepreneur since I've been here. I sold like $800 in mangoes in 10 days since I've been
Nice.
here, which is pretty cool. So I'm using all that for like a car, and I'm gonna start flying actually FPV. I know I've been saying it for so
Yep.
long now. I've been trying to do it for the last like 2 years. I've been just trying to put money into it and to kind of work on it a little bit. So now I'm finally gonna go to like the beach area. I'm gonna go to a nice parking lot and actually just start flying it and getting that unlocked, because I want to be flying FPV and I want to go up Stairway to Heaven and fly that all the way down that and around the
for sure.
highway and stuff.
Yeah,
For sure.
I imagine Hawaii is a pretty sweet place for FPV. We've seen some videos from there, but I'll ask you about that in a minute. But I want to ask, just we've talked about some of the places you're living, and I think I want to say Florence, you lived for quite a while, maybe a number of years, and that allowed you to able to kind of travel to a lot of different places in Europe. What, from a drone pilot perspective, what was Florence like? Because we see a lot of videos from it, just from the ground. When I was there, it's beautiful, but what I imagine it's a surreal experience to fly above. But then also just the ability to be so close to other countries. How much fun was that in the years that you lived there to have all these cool drone locations not that far from you?
Yeah, so when I was actually starting to fly, it was back in like 2016, 2017, and that was kind of like when things were starting to pick up, I would say, with drones. Like I was seeing them every now and then, and I was like, once the Mavic Pro came out, I was like, oh, game over. I'm getting this because I will be able to travel, I'll be able to work with it. And the Mavic Pro is what kind of got me into photography, and then I was learning all about aperture, shutter speed, and all this type of stuff. And my videography and photography has gotten way better with the drone now that I've been photographing for about 2.5 years now and doing photo shoots, and I'm trying to expand everything in the realm of photography, so I'm not just focused on one thing. I love working on ground video and photo as well as aerials. So like when I was in Florence, it was amazing that like when I first started flying drones, to see my first video of Florence, which is what took off, like that video took off a lot. And then I, like 3 years later, I'm making a video again of just hyperlapses, and I'm obsessed with doing hyperlapses now. Like each little clip of a hyperlapse, for me to do a ground footage of it, it's a lot easier than the drone itself, because the drone you're just setting up, but when you're doing the ground stuff, you're taking a photo and you got to reframe it, and you take a step forward, reframe, step forward, and each of those takes about 30 to 40 minutes to do. So it was really cool to see how my growth through photography in each of the cities I've been to, and I've been able to make multiple videos for each city. But then there's other places I've been to, like New Zealand. I haven't looked through any of my drone footage, and I went there in 2017. And I know I got to get on making a video for that. Like there's so many places that I've been so far, like over 50 countries, that I haven't even looked at probably 75% of my footage.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, just because I'm really bad at that. I love filming. I love trying to get the most cinematic shots I can possibly get. But when it comes down to sitting down and going through the footage,
Yeah.
I am so bad at that, just because like I want to keep living life and doing more and more things, and I just never have time to sit down and just go through and try to make a video. It's like writing an essay. I'm like, do I really want to do this right now? Okay, I'm going to do it. And then 12 hours later, I'm finally done with the video. But yeah, to get back to your first question, it was amazing to be able to fly in all these different cities. I want to say with Florence, when I started flying, there wasn't really any rules with drones. Obviously, there's drone like regulations now. You can't fly there at all. In Florence, it's definitely like illegal to fly over that city, as well as like a lot of other major cities in Europe. But in the beginning, when I was first flying, there weren't really many rules about that. Especially like if you're flying countrysides, like in Slovenia, Austria, you just got to watch out for like helicopters and stuff. You can't fly over 150 meters, simple stuff like that, just to stay safe. But a lot of the places like in Switzerland, like I was employed, I still had to follow all the same rules, but I actually had like a license and a permit to be able to fly in certain areas there to work for the companies that I was licensed to work for. So that was super fun. And that's what kind of got me into photography, was the whole fact that I started flying drones in Europe, and the student travel company that I worked for in Italy, when I was living in Florence, Busta Alps, they gave me the opportunity to kind of find my passion and work on that more and just expand through Instagram and just find new people and network. And it's allowed me to expand a lot more. And I really appreciate those experiences that I had.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you mentioned the over 50 countries, because a couple weeks ago we had our buddy Remy Morales on as a guest, and he said his goal is to get to 50 countries. And then I saw when we posted this, you're like pretty much been there, done that. Was your comment? Of all of the places you've traveled, what's the best, but what's the most memorable place you've traveled in those 50 plus countries?
I would say the most memorable place, I mean, Japan was truly amazing, but what I really loved the most was New Zealand. Being able to go through in a camper van and just travel throughout and be able to stop and be like, whoa, this is a cool spot. I have an idea with my drone to film this. So New Zealand was an amazing, amazing place. So many different landscapes and things that you can do. Like, I love bungee jumping. I love skydiving. Hopefully while I'm here, I'm going to get my skydive certification, so you'll see me skydiving a lot. And I really want to work with a skydive place to, I don't know, use my drone to fly alongside the plane as it's taking off and make like a cool promo video for them. So I have a lot of vast ideas that I want to put into reality. But yeah, I would say New Zealand. But if I was to talk about like an experience in time in general, I would say I made a goal for myself to hit up all the world wonders, the new world wonders. So like all 7 plus the honorary 8th, which is the pyramids of Giza. I made that a goal to visit all of them before I was 25, and I finished the last one, which I was in, which Chichen Itza, when I was 24, and I'm 27 now, so I was able to see all 7 world wonders before I turned 25. And the thing with that, like, I came actually from a family of like poverty. I'm not gonna lie, I came from Vermont. I wasn't doing so well with money, and when I graduated college, like when I started working for the travel company, I was doing well in sales, kind of building up, and especially like on Instagram. And I didn't have to pay for housing because they included the housing and everything that I did with all the work that I did. So all the extra money that I had, I was saving up for travel, to invest in my photography and video, because you have to invest just a little bit of money to be able to continue your passions. And so I just wanted to keep traveling, and I was putting a lot of my money into that. And I'm really good at finding cheaper flights. So it really worked out well. But I would say, yeah, hands down, my favorite experience was visiting all the world wonders. I eventually want to go back sometime. It would be truly remarkable if I can. I would love to also hike all the tallest mountains in the world. And eventually I want to visit every single country, but I don't want to be one of those people that go to a country just to visit for 2 or 3 days. Like, I loved being 4 months in Japan. I don't have a time frame on that either, but hopefully in my whole life, I can visit every single country, and I would really love to fly drones in all of them and make that possible, especially Antarctica. That's just high on my list. If I could go with like some Nat Geo photographers and just work down there, that would be a dream come true, honestly.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. It's I know it's on some people's bucket list. I don't know about Antarctica for me, but there's a lot of places I do want to go. I know you've been to Switzerland, I think 26 times. You said in the description of your video.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just curious about what drew you to Switzerland, but then also you mentioned you lost a bunch of hours of footage because some broken memory cards. What types of, in all your travels, have you ever done any other big drone mishaps along the way?
Yeah, so actually recently in Japan, the drone, I had it flying behind me. I had it auto tracking me. DJI really needs to fix that, by the way. Like, it's frustrating that when I'm flying it and the sensors are on, it'll start beeping like crazy and won't let me fly next to something. And I'm like, come on, drone. I'm like 2 meters away from this thing, and it'll stop in its tracks. And I got to redo that footage so I can make it really cool by getting close to something. But then I'll have it flying on its own. Like, I was doing some back skiing, like on this mountain. There wasn't a whole lot of trees around, but apparently just enough for it to like just slam into the tree and fall down. So that was really unfortunate, and I had to get that fixed in Japan. It was another $700 out of that stimulus check, and I'm like, I could have used that money for something else. But, I needed to use it for the drone, to keep me going and keep me running throughout Japan, because I couldn't not get that footage. Right. I'd rather starve than not be able to fly my drone. What was the beginning of the question?
Oh, in Switzerland, you've been to. Yeah. What's the draw for you for Switzerland?
So the company that I worked for in Italy, it was a Swiss company. And so it was based out of Interlaken, Switzerland, and they had a partner company called Outdoor Interlaken. This is where a lot of people go to do skydiving, bungee jumping, all sorts of outdoor activities, kind of the same thing that you would go to in like Queenstown, New Zealand. So many study abroad students want to go here, or they've heard about it and they don't really know what Interlaken, Switzerland is. So that's kind of like the home base of the company that I worked for. So I was always taking students. I was taking a bus from like Barcelona because I lived in Barcelona as well as Florence. I was back and forth, and so I would say that those are my two favorite cities in all of Europe. I love it. But taking the bus from Barcelona to Switzerland was pretty long. That was like a nice 12-hour bus ride. But from Florence, it was easy. It was only like 8 hours, 7.5 hours. And you get up there in the middle of the night. It's nice and cold. Sometimes it's snowing. It was such a beautiful experience to wake up and see all the Swiss Alps like every morning. And so I was guiding those trips. Other times I've guided a trip, stayed up there and did some extra work. We also had orientations up there, which are really cool, where we'd all go. You've probably seen it in the video where there's like a whole bunch of us like on these rafts. We do that like every August when I was working with them, and I worked there for like 4 years. So in 4 years, I did about 26 different trips. Or probably like a 5-year period actually, because there was a couple others I did outside of that. But I also did like separate things to work with like Jungfraujoch and Skiltorn where 007 was filmed. So Skiltorn is who I filmed for, as well as Jungfraujoch and paragliding Interlaken, which is very famous in Interlaken for if you want to go paragliding, you go with paragliding Interlaken. And there's also so many others like skydive Interlaken and all that. So there's a lot of amazing cool activities to do there. And I would have to say Switzerland's hands down one of my top 3 favorite places to go, just because of I'm a very outdoorsy kind of person. I love everything there. And I'm from Vermont, and a lot of people say that that's a beautiful state. And I'm like, you haven't seen Switzerland yet, because you're missing out. Like the Switzerland.
Vermont in the fall, though, right? I mean,
blows my mind. Or what, Switzerland or Vermont?
Vermont in the fall is supposed to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is at least, but I mean, Switzerland in the fall, that is that's something else. Seeing all those trees and be able to fly like on a helicopter, and just seeing everything from above like that, and just all the beautiful houses and the landscapes and all the hiking that they have there. It's just unreal with the landscapes. So it's like perfect for a drone flyer to be able to, like, that's the epitome of a place for flying the drone. That was one of my favorite places to fly. But I also love flying in cities too, so there's a little bit of difference.
I'm glad you brought up the James Bond location. And just this morning, I think you posted the Game of Thrones reel on Instagram, all the different spots you've been in Iceland and spots in the Game of Thrones,
Yep.
which I just actually started over again for the 3rd time, because I'm trying to catch more and more each time. But when you travel, do you try to find spots that are like recognizable locations, or is that just something that happens while you're there?
So actually with Iceland, so every place that I'm going that's going to be new to go to, so say like I really want to go to Norway right now, every single time I see something cool on Instagram, I immediately star that location on my Google Maps, so it's all there. So I don't have like notes and everything like this. I don't lose anything. I don't talk to somebody and be like, oh, okay, I'll make sure to go there. It's starred in my Google Maps everywhere. So like the next time I'm like, hey, I want to go to this country, I literally look at every single star. I make a plan. I'm really good at planning my routes. Rent a car, be able to hit up every single location I go to. The only place I specifically did that, looking for a place I was based in like a movie, was in New Zealand. If I ever make this video, there's so many places that I filmed in New Zealand that were based on from Lord of the Rings that I was like, I need to go to this place, because I was so obsessed with Lord of the Rings. Game of Thrones, it was more so, I've always wanted to go to Dubrovnik even before Game of Thrones came out. So I went there, and I decided to make that video with the Game of Thrones sounds behind it and theme. The Iceland one, I just did that because of, like, obviously Game of Thrones was filmed on the beginning there with that glacier, the Svinafellsjökull. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Glacier.
Easier to just say
super cool, but I actually didn't even mean. Yeah, and the wall. Yeah, it's the wall. I didn't even mean to actually put that video with it. I actually was, in my head, I was thinking of the Vikings theme song that I wanted to do with that, and then I was going to use the Game of Thrones one for my Dubrovnik post that I'll post later, probably like next week or something. So I actually didn't even mean to do that song for that, but it still came out pretty cool. But yeah, when I was there, I was pretty much just trying to hit up all the cool locations and find other areas as well too. Like I hadn't ever seen time lapses done of the night sky from the ice lagoon. So I, instead of going there during the day, which I did also go there during the day, I made sure on the way back to hit it up at night and get some really cool northern light shots when I was there. So I'm always trying to think of other things that I haven't seen people do as well too, because I'm tired of seeing the same stuff over and over again. I see a lot of stuff, and sometimes if people have made a video already from previous work that I've done, but I never posted this stuff, I won't even post my stuff because I've already seen it done so many times. And so I'm just like, I'm like over that, and I'm trying to always find like new cool spots and a new way to do a photo or a video or something instead of the same thing over and over again.
You mentioned earlier on that FPV, something you wanted to get into. It sounds like you've been saying you're wanting to get into it for a while now. How do you envision yourself using FPV? Do you see doing kind of the cinematic stuff? Are you into the racing at all, or what about FPV is appealing to you?
So I think the racing in FPV is really, really cool, but that's not really me. I mean, I've tried it on the simulator, and I cannot go through those gates to save my life. I go to it and I like miss it by like a foot every time, or I like hit the rim of it, and I'm like, what is going on here? So that kind of frustrates me. But for the last, like, since 2018, like when it started picking up the FPV, I was like, wow, this is actually super cool. I want to get into this. But then as soon as DJI came out with like that FPV air unit, I was like, hands down, I want to get into this. I actually meant to like email them because I wanted to be like one of their first sponsors for like doing it and using that, but I never got to that, because that's the other thing, is I always forget to email these companies and talk to them about working with them, because I'm just so busy with other things. So it's definitely an uphill battle, but I really want to get into that. I have it here with me. I haven't even flown it yet, but I'm still using the simulator just because I have it and I have the props. I just got 4 new batteries because I fried the others, because I didn't know you could put 4-cell batteries. You couldn't put 4-cell batteries with 3-cell. I know, it's really dumb. But I did. I charged all of them like all at once, and I fried them. Luckily, I didn't burn the place down. But I have all brand new batteries now, so I'm excited to actually like fly it now. Because in Japan, there weren't very many open areas.
Anyway, not the first time we've had technical issues on the show here. So
Right. Yeah, no kidding. Oh yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah, so I've got this one with the air unit inside of it right here. And I actually did this. I took some blue tack, if you can see, and I put the blue tack on there in this GoPro mount that's 3D mounted. It's not drilled into there with any screws, but it's on there with so much blue tack that it won't like come off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these straps and put it around here to hold it like together with the GoPro mount. And I'm going to fly it. Sure. So it's like a quav for, or not, but it's a 5S, or no, 4S quad, 5-inch. So pretty good size one, and I'm really excited to fly it.
Yeah, does it have the option for angle mode, or is it just acro? Like
I'm not
like
sure,
angles,
actually.
like the people like myself who don't want to crash and are still the newbies, but angle or acro is more of the like really good pilot stuff.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to learn more about that, actually. I haven't like looked into that a whole lot. I've just been flying just on the simulator. I want to be able to find something on the simulator that's very close to this. On the simulator, it's going to be very similar for flying. But I'm really sketched out about crashing it. So I'm literally trying to get so perfect on the simulator where I don't crash anymore. So that way I can fly it here and not crash it. And because like I don't have any replacement parts or anything like that, and Hawaii is kind of hard to get stuff shipped to,
right?
Especially batteries.
Have you connected with any other FPV pilots down there to try to maybe learn the ropes from?
None.
No.
Haven't met any FPV pilots here, but maybe I should like search for some groups first. That's the issue. I just haven't been able to find any FPV people around. When I was in New York, I couldn't find any, not a single one. When I was in Japan, it's FPV's banned in Japan. You can't fly 5.8 gigahertz at all. So even the DJI store doesn't even carry anything from FPV there. So they don't allow it at all in Japan. I mean, if they just don't allow it at all. So, but I was hoping I could fly there, but I couldn't, especially with my batteries just dying on me, so I couldn't fly there. So I'm really excited to fly here because it's going to be totally fun to fly here. And a lot of open space.
Yeah, we've seen, I think Tyler mentioned earlier, we've seen a couple really sweet cinematic FPV flights just in the past couple weeks from Hawaii, and it literally is the perfect place. And I mean, and you're right. I mean, it's a great place to start because just go down to the beach if you're gonna hit anything, it's just going to be the sand, you know, just don't go over the water yet.
Yeah.
But
And maybe a palm tree.
yeah, maybe a palm tree. Yeah. But no, like I'd love to see what you could do over the next year. You just, it's a patience game, man. Like, trust me, I've been trying for a good year just to get like the Cinewhoop stuff down, and it's finally clicking a little bit, but it's patience. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my next question is, and this could lead into FPV as well. Is there anybody on social media or Instagram that have really influenced you, whether, like I said, whether it's FPV side or it's more on the camera drone side or just travel in general?
I don't know. Probably one of my favorite Instagram friends is Pilot Viking, Espen. He's really cool. He's done a lot of awesome drone stuff in Norway, and I'd really love to visit Norway and make some really cool content with him. We have like a lot of the same gear. I told him for so long to get a Mavic, and now he has one and he loves it. I'll have to show him this video talking about it. But he used to always just use those Phantoms. But he's done some really good stuff in Norway, and I'd love to do some collaborations with him. But I would say for FPV wise, obviously you probably know it's Johnny FPV was the one who kind of got me into that. Ever since I saw his like footage of like the Rhino and the Lion and stuff, other collabs I was doing like J Alvarez and things, I was like, wow, I need to jump into this now. Like at that point, I already knew I was already late. Same thing. Other things I regret for not making videos as fast, like things that I make with like the Florence video before it gained so much traction. But then there was other videos that I could have made also during that time. I was just so busy. And now there's just so many people flying now, so it's harder for my stuff to be seen as much as it could have like 3 or 4 years ago. So I do regret that, but and I do regret not getting into FPV sooner, but I'm gonna try to get in now and try to make some epic content for you guys.
Well, you can
But
still
luckily on Instagram, the Reels has some really good engagement on it. Like my Barcelona video just like went super viral on that. It blew up. And so I'm really happy about that now I can like post a lot of my older drone videos and actually make some new ones and post them as a reel, and they'll actually get the exposure that I needed to get for other people to see.
Yep. Go
You
ahead,
mentioned, well, I was gonna say Jacob got excited because you mentioned his buddy Pilot Viking. That's his BFF. So and you mentioned the Mavic, and I'm so strongly on Team Phantom.
That whole answer from Wes right there was perfect. Mavic, Pilot Viking, FPV. Man, it couldn't have got any better. I'm still trying to convert Tyler from Phantom.
I'm still on the Phantom. It's working well for me. So I don't travel much with it, so I don't need that part of it. It's a workhorse. So I like it.
But if you're somebody like me who has like a Sony, I have a Sony A9 with like GM lenses. They're super heavy. I'm not a prime lens user guy, but I do have one prime, but it's like the heaviest one I have. It's like a 35 millimeter 1.2 Sigma, and that thing is just a beast. It's super heavy. And so it's just like having 5 lenses, a camera, my Ronin S that's already super heavy. They need to come out with like a better gimbal that's lighter, that's going to be better for the professional cameras. Plus my drone, so I wouldn't be able to handle a Phantom. And as much as I'd love an Inspire 2, I'd love to just get one of those and just travel with that thing everywhere. They just need to make it a little bit smaller for me to warrant getting it and be able to travel. Because already, like on my trip over here, my backpack with all my gear, I finally got that Peter McKinnon bag, and it can hold 60 pounds of all my equipment. Luckily, they don't weigh my bag. I'm a bigger guy. I can kind of hide it. I strapped on all my FPV gear with these D clips. They're just all hanging off this bag. I am just insane just going through the airport with like that much equipment and gear. It held like 60 pounds of stuff. So I can't even imagine having a Phantom to go with that, or even an Inspire. It's just insane amounts of weight.
I was going to ask, you mentioned the Reels on Instagram, which I haven't really played around with yet, but just as far as Instagram in general or social media in general, I know your main Instagram account has over 90,000 followers. How big, from a drone perspective, has that been for you to build a following, get your stuff seen, and I mean, just I guess to be a content creator, how what's that been like to see that following grow?
Yeah, so it's been really, really cool, especially with drones. Have been able to allow it to grow, and I kind of made it like a separate account that's just all drone stuff for the people who don't want to see my everyday stuff, because I've kind of gotten tired with the whole engagement thing, and I love posting. Like something that I'm very passionate about is taking shots of animals, and some people don't like that stuff, so I made it completely separate. My business, just iDrone Aerials like account, separate from my main one, but I love being able to post everything I like to do. Cause like I said, I like to grow in all aspects of photography, whether it be with drones, with my camera and doing portrait photography or weddings. I would love to get into weddings. I love astrophotography so much. I'd love to work for Nat Geo too. There's a lot of things I'd like to do and shoot. And it was really cool to see the following grow from, especially from a drone, with all my drone content. Just like that one video allowed me to go up like 1,000 followers just in 24 hours. It was pretty cool to see that happen and to see new people come in and to reintroduce myself to everybody. Because a lot of people don't even know what I do or what happened to me or what I went through in my life to be able to get to this point. And a lot of people like to say, oh, I had money and stuff like that, which is not true at all. I just was really smart with my money, and I was able to put it in places to allow me to get to other opportunities and meet newer people in my life, and be able to collaborate and things like that. And so I would like to say it's like an entrepreneur mindset to be able to keep traveling on very little money and to be able to keep working and moving from place to place. It's been a really cool journey so far, and I can't wait to see what it brings more. Already in 2019, I've traveled more than I even did in 2020. I've already traveled more than I did in 2019. So it's been crazy so far, even with the virus. But I honestly, I plan to do something here big in Hawaii that'll allow me to stay here, whether it be with weddings or if I create enough good drone footage that I can promote to like realtors or something like that. I want to do something here so that I can have a base here in Hawaii, so it makes it easier enough to go back to Europe or over to Asia. But I eventually kind of like found my spot. I really love it here, and I just want to make something big.
So long term for you, which is like probably a year is long term for you. But is your plan to stay in Hawaii there then for at least another year? Is that sort of the goal?
Yeah, honestly, my plan right now is to stay in Hawaii. I've been pondering with what I should do because I kind of wanted to go into the military, but I know that's gonna hold me back a little bit. But at the same time, it could be the best thing I ever do. I was thinking about being an officer in the Air Force, of becoming actually a real pilot and be able to actually fly planes, because drones have kind of showed me that I really like to fly, and I kind of want to be in the pilot seat as well instead of just flying from the ground. So that could enable me to go on to other things, and I think it would be really cool if I was an actual pilot. I could travel a whole lot more and still be able to fly drones. I already have my pilot's Part 107 pilot's license, so that's pretty cool that I already did that. But I have a few things that I want to do. Maybe become a realtor and use all my footage that I do already to help sell houses here. I don't know, but my plan is definitely to stay here. What I do, I'm not really sure. I do want to expand like my photography a lot more in my drone business. But at the moment, it's kind of difficult with COVID to be able to make money, and I think a lot of other people are going through the same situation that I am, and not really sure what to do. And I can do anything in sales as well, so I'm pretty much just applying for a lot of different jobs. I would prefer to stay in Hawaii. I think doing something remote is the way to go. So at least get some money coming in to pay for a place, and then like Gary Vee says, you have your 9 to 5 job, but then you also have a job from 5 to 12 that you best be working. And that's something I've always followed from him. I was actually doing that when I was in Europe. Somebody, this girl Adri, she actually told me about him, and she was like, you have to watch his stuff. You're doing what he's telling people to do right now. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And so I started watching a lot of his content, and it's kind of enabled me to do a little bit more than I was doing before, and just kind of push it a little bit more and try to build on my like website and just try to market myself a little bit better than I did before. And it'll be a lot easier now that I'm in one spot, because I really do plan on living here for quite a while. And what I mean by quite a while, maybe 2 years, maybe a year, maybe 3 years. But like you said, that a year is kind of a long time for me to be planning ahead of time. But I definitely want to be here, so I'm close to Japan so I can go skiing. And I want to be here long enough to hit up every single inch of this island, as well as all the other islands around. And maybe Four Seasons is one of my favorite hotels, so I was thinking about like talking with them and helping boost their marketing, because I would really love to help them grow as well.
Well, I know you'll be traveling at some point, and when you do travel again, is there a country on the list of ones you haven't been to that would be maybe a first on your list that you would want to go see?
So the first one's on my list, hands down, Norway. I told Espen, got to get out there, got to go to Norway. I planned for it actually this year in September, Same thing with Indonesia. I was trying to go to Indonesia, collaborate with Potty Travel because I'm very passionate scuba diver. I love the underwater. So it's just like, I love the underwater. I love the air. I can get the air with my drone. I can get the underwater with either a GoPro and hopefully soon a housing for my camera, which is super expensive. It's like $8,000 for a housing for my camera. And I just don't have that right now, but I love exploring the water. So like Indonesia is somewhere I want to go. I've been there in the past, but I want to go there and do like a whole 2 months, hit up every single island. So Indonesia's on my prime list right now, as well as Norway. And while I'm in Norway, I want to hit up Svalbard. And I just got a 100 to 400 lens with a 1.4 extender that I've always had, so I can get 560 millimeters up on polar bears. And I would love to fly my drone to use that as like a scouting to see where the polar bears are. And then I would get them with my long range camera. And it's actually got an Arctic camo, which is pretty sweet. So it'll be a nice little camouflage as well too. So those are definitely places those are high on my radar list, as well as Antarctica. If something could come up for that. It's too expensive for me right now, but I would really love to do some kind of project with somebody for that as well.
Very cool. Yeah, I think that's a great place to end this. I know we always enjoy your content on Airvuz and on Instagram, and we share it as much as possible. I know, but yeah, you're definitely one of the top creators of all time. You're almost an OG on Airvuz now. I mean, it's been 3-4 years
I know,
since uploading.
Crazy,
no,
yeah. 4 years ago, I think was the first time I uploaded a video.
Crazy. But no, keep up the great work. I know you'll figure out living and work and all that out there. You're very great when it comes to with dealing with people and all that stuff. But yeah, keep up the great work. You know, just know we're loving your stuff from afar.
Thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thanks for taking
it's
the time.
What kind of keeps me going more and more.
Cool. Yeah, well, we appreciate you taking the time. It looks like you got some beautiful backdrop there to go enjoy. So we're looking forward to seeing all that Hawaii footage here.
Super nice. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks.
Great talking to you.